So, we started this research at the Illinois Caucus for Adolescent Health because the Young People in the Youth Leadership Council told us that all young people needed to feel affirmed in their conversations about sexuality with their families, whether those families were given to them or chosen and created by them. So they said that youth of all identities, from every familial makeup, all across the city, need to be having these conversations outside of a school context. And so we decided to investigate what that meant. So the purpose of the project is to legitimize families of choice and families of origin. So to talk about the importance of both of those different communities as being equal. We were also interested in building the capacity of both of those families and communities in having conversations with young people about sexuality. So in the fall, we started a project called Let's Talk Month around Advocates for Youth, Let's Talk campaigns. And in that project, we were talking to given families about the struggles that they have and the barriers that they encounter in talking to their kids about sex. That project helped us see that it's not just hard for young people to talk to their parents about sex, it's also hard for parents to talk to the young people in their lives about sex. So we started investigating what it would mean to build the capacity of parents to talk to their kids about sex, and decided that it wasn't just about given families. It was also about building the capacity of the young people's peers, their friends, and their chosen families that they knit together. The young people in our program told us that youth of all identities and all familial makeups need to have these conversations regularly, and they need to have them safely and comfortably at home. They need to feel affirmed in those conversations, and when that doesn't happen with their given families, they work strongly to knit together support systems that can fill in the gaps. So they build chosen families in order to have accurate, accessible, friendly conversations about sexuality. So we're in the middle of our research process right now, which means that our young people are interviewing their peers, and they're also interviewing parents and given families about sexuality and about those conversations about sexuality. As soon as we finish our interviews, we'll code our data and come up with a research report to share our findings with our communities. And then year 2 of the participatory action research process, it's really about building an action plan around our research findings. So next year, our young people will build campaigns around the data that they've spent this entire year collecting. So those campaigns they could take any shape or form depending on what the young people want to do with their research. Could mean building trainings that they do for adult caregivers or for given families. It could mean building a new media campaign to engage people in what to do with this data. It can take lots of different shapes and forms. But what we do know is that our young people are investigating what it means to be a family. Our young people are interested in what family looks like differently from person to person, and that next year we'll really be able to create some more concrete action around those findings. This past fall, ICA youth leaders began sharing stories with each other about what family meant to them. So some of the youth in our program shared stories about how supportive their parents, grandparents, and caregivers that they stayed at home with were in conversations about sexuality. So they shared with us advice about how great their parents were and what they were able to actually share with their parents, and what kinds of conversations they were able to have with them. And some of the other youth in our program were not so lucky, didn't have supportive family structures at home where they felt affirmed and able to share questions that they had about sexuality and issues that they were grappling with. So both sets of young people, whether or not they had a strong family support at home, expressed expressed an ability to craft a chosen family. So to put together support structures and other people in their lives who could be there for them, whether or not their given family was. And these chosen families were also sites where the young people in our program were having most of their conversations about sex and sexuality. So young people were talking to other young people mostly about what they were doing with their bodies and what questions they had about their bodies. And this is why we decided our research was so important, because we needed to explore what types of conversations young people were having at home, what types they were having outside the home, and where and when those conversations failed or succeeded. Then we wanted to build the capacity of both of those spaces to host more successful conversations with young people about sex and sexuality. And that's what we're doing right now with this participatory action research project.